Hey guys, welcome back. So yesterday we created this awesome animation of Jerry riding a rocket with a smoke effect and all that cool stuff. In this quick video, I thought maybe it would be a fun exercise, or again, kind of like an animation experiment, to see if we can maybe get him talking. That would be really cool. If someone out there is making a short and maybe you want to get into short films, one of the basic things you might need once in a while is, some kind of a dialogue. And maybe I'm not the best master in the world to teach this, but I love animation, and I'm learning just as much as anyone else. So if someone is maybe sees this video and has some pointers at how we can make this better, I'm definitely open to it. But just for the sake of my current understanding and knowledge, I would love to attempt to do a quick experiment of him just saying something silly, right? All right, so if that sounds fun, I would love for you guys to do the same on your end and just kind of follow along and see what we can do. So one of the first things we're gonna need is some kind of a liner, like a one-liner that he says, right? And of course we can just download one from a movie, or maybe you wanna grab one of your favorite lines from somewhere, but I'm just gonna maybe record my own, and maybe that will also be helpful to anyone who wants to create kind of a custom dialogue. So there's a million different ways you can do it. I'm just gonna fire up Audition from Adobe and just do a quick recording. You can even use your own iPhone for this. All right, so here I am in Adobe Audition, and one of the things I need to do is just simply, let's start a new track. I'm just gonna do an audio track. That's fine. And let's just figure out what Jerry is going to say. So I'm thinking of something really simple. Something as simple as, yeah, I like cheese. I know, not very original, but let's just go with that. It's simple and short. So here it is. Yeah, I like cheese. All right, so hopefully you're not going to judge my voice acting abilities, but I came up with something like this, and now this is going to be great because it's just really 3 little chunks. So my voice probably is not the best voice for Jerry as far as the voice acting goes, but maybe we can tweak this. Let's see if we can actually make it a little more cartoony. So I'm going to just double click to select everything. Let's go to effects, and let me go to time and stretch, and let me just go to pitch shifter. And in here, there's a preset, right? So maybe let's go ahead and try, or this angry gerbil preset. So I'm going to select that and see what that sounds like.
Yeah, I like cheese.
I don't know if that sounds like Jerry, but let's just use this for our example. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Export, I'm going to do File, Export, and we can do WAV file, or of course we can also do MP3, whatever you want. MP3 is usually much smaller in file size, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to say I like cheese. Very original and unique. And I'm just going to say OK. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Maya. And now, how do I bring this MP3 file in here? All I need to do is just simply locate the file on my computer, right? So here it is, I like cheese. I'm going to take this file, I'm just going to simply drag it right into my scene and just drop it down. As soon as I drop it down, you can see it actually appeared right here on my timeline. And my timeline is currently, from our last experiment, is set to 24 frames, right? And obviously that's definitely not enough to show the entire I like cheese masterpiece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my timeline to, let's give ourselves initially 200, just so I could see what's going on here. All right, so you can see that audio file ends at about 40. So maybe let's go to 50 and say that's going to be our segment, our animation segment. So 50 frames at 24 frames per second, right? If I go back and I press play, I should hear myself saying I like cheese.
Yeah, I like cheese.
Okay, very cool. Next, let's go ahead and talk about how do we start creating some kind of animation for this, right? Now, the first thing I want to point out, if you are getting into this, you probably want to set up a custom camera instead of just using a perspective camera. By default, we are in a perspective camera, but there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can drop in a camera, and we can just do, let's go ahead and create a camera, and we can even do an aim camera. So Let's go ahead and do that actually. Let's just drop a camera in. And let's pretend like Jerry's going to be our actor and we are the director, right? So I'm going to take the, let's see, I'm going to select my camera in the outliner. I'm going to press W and I'm going to move this back. I'm going to grab my aim locator right here and I'm just going to simply point it to, I'm going to place it right kind of in the middle of his head. So somewhere around here. And you can see the camera is attempting to kind of keep an eye on the locator, right? So I'm just going to move it into position and now I need to see, right, how is he looking through this camera, right? So how do I do that? Well, to do that I'm going to go to panels and I'm going to simply select camera 1 because that's the name of my camera in the outliner, right? So I'm going to select that and voila, here he is kind of being framed in. So let's go ahead and frame it in. If you start to render this out and you want to see what is the actual resolution of your shot, you can always use these here. There's something called the film gate, and sometimes that's helpful, right? So my current settings for my frame resolution here is at 540, and 960 by 540 is at what this box says, right? So of course we can adjust this once we create the animation, but just so you know what these dimensions are, okay? Very cool. All right, so let's get started. So now we have our actor framed in the camera. We have our audio that we just recorded. And next, let's just begin to kind of play with the animation. So one other thing I want to point out. If you frame the character and you really love the position of the camera, right? There is a way to bookmark your camera so you never mess up the angle. If you ever want to come back to the same exact precise position of your actor, right? So to do this, all you need to do is you can use bookmarks. So right here, you can see there's a bookmark. If I click on it, it looks like nothing happened, right? But if I right click on my bookmark, you can see that it actually appeared on top as camera view 1, which means if I by accident move this camera to a different position, right? Maybe I'm trying to get a controller and now I want to go back to the original one. All I need to do is just simply right click and say camera view 1 and that's going to kind of jump me back to that same shot. So that's kind of important small little trick. To get started, let's go ahead and select the entire selection of all the controllers. And it's not being selected because it's actually trying to grab the aim locator, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this camera group. I'm going to add it as a layer and let's go ahead and name this camera so we know what this is. And let's go ahead and lock this up. So we're going to save this as a reference, right? So now if I drag a selection, I can select all the controllers and it's not going to try to grab the camera locator. All right, very cool. Now, once we have all of the controllers selected, let's go ahead and just simply press S on frame 0, and that's going to key in every single controller, right? Very cool. Now, the next step, what I would like to do is before he begins speaking these wise words, let's go ahead and kind of pose him into, a better position than the T-pose, right? So one of the basic things I can do, I'm going to select both of these controllers for the arm. I'm going to press E. I'm going to make sure that I am in object orientation and I'm just going to simply lower them down. Okay. So he's just chilling. He's standing in front of the camera, expressing his feelings. If you don't see this tool settings like I have on mine, you just simply double click on any one of these icons and the tool settings will pop up. And I just kind of have it docked on the side here. And I actually have it saved as my workspace. That's just something I like to do. And I did the same thing with the outliner, right? Once you position your tools where you like them, you can just save it as your workspace. And then using this lock, you can lock it or unlock it. And then you can also load it in for, different things that you're doing. Keep that in mind as well. All right, nice. I'm gonna go ahead and, again, I already framed my character, so I'm gonna go to my bookmark. And now I think this is a little bit better for the arms. Of course, if we want, we can adjust them. It's up to you. But let's say I like my arms like this, right? Also, another thing, make sure you turn this button on, which is auto keyframe toggle on. So I'm gonna make sure that's on. And that what that means is every single time I move a controller, if I'm anywhere in the timeline, it's gonna automatically set a key for me, right? So that's important. All right, if I press play, the very first thing is gonna be, and this is a cool thing about timeline as well. As I drag this, I can actually hear the audio, right? Which is gonna be very helpful for us to align our character to the audio, right? It could get annoying very quickly, I understand that, but that's part of the process of actually syncing characters' lips. All right, so to get started, let's first create an animation of him saying yes or yeah, right? So from 0 to 14, if I drag this, at about 14, he stops saying yeah. Now, if you wanted to mute this, right, as you're creating your animation, maybe you want to, take a break from hearing the audio file. If that ever happens, go to 0, right-click, go to audio, and then I like cheese is going to be listed right here as one of your audio files. If you go to options in the attribute editor on the right, you can see this I like cheese tab pops up. In here, there's something called mute. So I can mute this, and now since I already know from 0 to 14 that's the character saying yeah, right? Maybe I can just focus on the animation by itself. As a first step, I'm going to make sure I'm on frame 0. I'm going to select this neck controller, and I'm going to press S and start keying the neck movement for him saying yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to 0. I'm going to go to 14, and right in here, between here, I just want him to kind of bop his head down in agreement. So he's just saying yes. So let's go ahead and go to 3. On 6, I can raise it back up and go to 9. And I'll kind of bring this back down, and then he kind of settles back in. Let's go ahead and review this. All right. Now he's saying yeah, very cool. Yeah, I like cheese. Once he says yeah, initially, I think it would be really cute if he, as he continues to speak, he says, yeah, I like cheese, right? It would be fun if maybe instead of keeping his head straight, we kind of moved it to the side just for fun. Again, I'm just totally experimenting. So at this point, very slowly, let's go ahead and go to frame 50. And I'm gonna, again, still using the neck controller, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of tilt it. And I'm gonna maintain the character looking at the camera. All right, and I don't wanna make it too dramatic, right? So it's supposed to be semi-subtle. Let's just see what we got. Yeah, and then he goes, yeah, I like cheese. All right, maybe in here it's a little bit too slow, right? I would like to speed this up. I think maybe it would be cool if he moved to this position a lot faster. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hover over at 50, hold on the shift key, click on it, and then now what I can do is I can actually change the timing of his tilt. So maybe I want the tilt to be much faster. And let's review. All right, maybe now it's a little too fast. So it's just a matter of liking your animation. I kind of like that. All right, so he tilts his head from 14 to 28. And then on 50, I think he kind of maybe just makes just a little bit of a movement as well. Because I don't want to keep it completely still going from 28 to 50. So now there's just a little bit of a movement. And as he does that, maybe one of the things, I actually like the eye pointing at the camera on 50, and then on 28, it almost feels like he's kind of looking a little bit down. So let's go ahead and animate the eyes as well. So I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna go to 0. Remember, we already set the keys for all the controllers on 0, right? Which means if I go to 3, I can press W and I can just move this up and kind of maintain him looking at the camera, right? So that's pretty cool. And then right here, he's gonna go to 6. And same thing, I can actually zoom out and maybe he's trying to maintaining the position, right? So it's yes. And then here, on 9, I went back down. So I'm gonna bring this back up. And then here we can adjust just a little bit movement, right? So something a little more interesting. And let's just add a little more, right? So there's some kind of a life going on in his eyes. And now to jump back into my camera view, I'm gonna go to camera view 1, go to 0. Let me see how it's looking. I'm not loving the fact that he is completely 100% still as far as his body and the shoulders go, right? So let's go ahead and maybe add a little motion there as well. To add a little movement to his body, let's just decide what we want to do, right? So on 0, right here, he says that his head kind of comes down, right? So maybe one of the things we can do is let's just grab this controller, press W, and let's just move this up just a little bit, couple pixels up. And right here, the head kind of bubbles in, so I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. And starting from this point on, I'm going to press S again and just maybe move this up. And right here, as the head kind of tilts, maybe we can press E and just let's go ahead and tilt his body just a little bit as well. And I'm going to press S again and maybe just move this a little more. So very subtle. All right, I'm going to jump back into my camera view and let's just see if that looks a little bit better. I think so. Of course you can do more, but this is just showing you that you don't want to keep the body 100% still, right? So it doesn't look like it's not alive. And we can do the same thing with the arms as well, right? Let's go ahead and select both of them. Let's go ahead and do something like this. Let's just move these out a little more. And then I'm going to move them back in. And here I can move them just a little bit more. And just one more. All right, let's check this out. All right, fun. Next, let's go ahead and start adding maybe some of the dialogue or the lip syncing, right, to his face. As he says, yeah, let's right here maybe give him a little bit of a smile, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and move this up and move this one up as well. He's really excited to share about his love for cheese, right? And the other thing that we can do is let's go ahead and maybe open his mouth, right? So I'm gonna select this controller, press E, and I'm just gonna move this down. All right, so now he's gonna say, yeah. And all right, as he says, yeah, back on 14, I would love for the mouth to close back up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all 3 of these, right? The ones that I just set the keys for. I'm gonna go to 0. I'm gonna copy my keys for those 3. I'm gonna go to 14, and I'm gonna simply paste them in. All right. And let's check this out. I'm gonna go back to my bookmark. All right, he's kind of closing his mouth a little bit too fast. All right, so then he opens it and then he starts to close it right away because we're going to frame 14. But one of the things I could do is hold this a little bit longer, right? Well, let me select these once again. I'm gonna go to 4. I'm gonna copy this. And I'm gonna go to, let's go to 11 and paste these in, right? So from 4 to 11, it's just kind of staying open and then it closes to go to 14. So he's getting ready to say, I like cheese. All right, let's check it out. All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and unmute this so maybe we can do a little preview and see what that sounds like. I'm gonna jump back into my camera.
Yeah, I like cheese.
Okay, very cool. Now, as you can see, it's gradual and you just have to kind of start building the animation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute this back up, and at this point that I know you can see from the waves, which actually we can make them a little bit larger. Let's go ahead and drag these up. Maybe we can see them a little bit better, right? And now we know that this is going to be, yeah, I like cheese, right? Very cool. So let's go ahead and work on our eye. So the eye could be as simple as, I don't want to make it too complicated. Let's just grab this bottom one, right? And I'm going to press, I'm going to go to 17, press S. And right here, I want to start opening his mouth for eye. So let's go ahead and press S on 20, press E to rotate, and let's just open his mouth up, and that's going to be his eye. Once he says I, he then goes to I like, right? and you can do it with your own lips, you can see that I is going to be a very different sound from L, right? The L is going to require us to close the mouth. So I'm going to press S here, and let's go ahead and press E. And I'm just going to close this back up a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to create the L sound with his tongue. So we haven't animated his tongue yet. So let's just check it out and see what we could do there. All right, and it's kind of hard to see in there. I can see there's a controller right there. And let me see what this does. If I press W, I'm actually going to turn off my auto keyframe because I don't want to set any keys as I'm trying to experiment and see how this works, right? So I'm going to drag this up and I can see what that does. That's kind of for the back of his throat. So I don't really want that. I can also turn on this little button right here called X-ray. And in here, you can see that there's actually a controller right here, and that's going to be his tongue. All right, very cool. That's the one I was looking for. All right, let me jump out of the X-ray, and in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a, let's go ahead and turn this back on. I'm going to go to frame 16, and in here as he starts to say I, right? I want his tongue to be down, so I'm going to press S to set the first key on that triangle. And again, I'm trying to key this guy right here. You can see it's being selected, right? So let me jump back out. So this is going to be kind of the starting point for the tongue. Then he's going to say like, so I want the tongue kind of go forward a little bit, and then I want the tongue to go back. So I'm going to press another, set another key on 25 to keep the tongue where it started. And on 22, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for the first time, move this, right? So to create the sound of maybe L. So let's go ahead and do something like this. And let's just see what that looks like. I like. And at this point, I would like to close the mouth because he's done talking. So to do that, what I need to do is I'm going to simply select all of these controllers. I'm going to go back to 0. I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to go to 25. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste them. All right. And a lot of times when you paste something, you need to move your viewport for the controllers to kick in. I'm not really sure if that's my computer issue, or maybe you might experience something similar, but a lot of times when you paste the keys in, you just have to move your timeline to kind of activate the new position. All right, so now I'm gonna, let's check this out. All right, and we can adjust this. Let's just start playing with the cheese. All right, and the word cheese is gonna be very similar to what we've done before. So I'm just gonna start moving these down, and I'm gonna move this one up, and that's gonna be almost like a smile, but essentially he's just saying cheese. We can grab this guy here. Let's press E, and just move this down a little bit, and that's gonna be him saying cheese. All right, and once he's done saying cheese, I kind of wanna go back to the beginning. So I'm going to select all of these keys again. Let's select all of these, go to 0, copy, go to 40, and I'm just going to simply paste them in. And again, I pasted them in, but nothing happened, so I'm just going to kind of activate my keyframes here. And what I need to do is I'm going to grab this one, press W, and just kind of close his mouth. All right, let me jump into my camera here, and on 50, honestly, I would love to maintain kind of a little bit of a smile here. That would be really cute. And let's see what we got. All right, let's go ahead and activate our sound. So I'm gonna go back to audio. Let me click on options. Let's unmute and let's check it out.
Yeah, I like cheese. Yeah, I like cheese.
Very cool. So at this point, of course, you can keep dialing this in more and more. I just kind of wanted to show you the process of how it's done and what it would take. One of the things that would be cool if we added a blink so he doesn't have this kind of a dead stare, right? So let's do that. How do we add a blink to our mouse, Jerry? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to frame 14, and what I would like to do is we need to find where the eyelid controllers are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain his eyes being open on I or on yeah, and then right here he should do a blink, and then he said I like cheese. So let's go ahead and say yeah. So let's go to 12, and it's going to be actually these guys right here. So these, if you click on this, let me zoom in so you can see. You see this square looking one, kind of a round square. If you select that, it says lids, right? Right lid. And then holding down the shift key, I can select the other one, and that's going to be the other lid, right? And what I'm going to do is I need to maintain them being open. So on 11, I'm going to press S to set a key. All right, so then let's go to frame 12. Press S again to set a second keyframe. And at this point, from 0 to 11, it's going to be open. And then boom, on 12, let's just do a quick blink, right? So I'm going to move this up, something like this. And let's do exactly the same thing with the top ones. I'm going to select these and this one and this one. Go to 11, press S. Go to 12, press S. And then let's do a quick close. And I'm just going to drag them all the way down. All right, very cool. So now on 11 it's open, on 12 it's closed. And of course, I want them to be open up again as he says, I like, right? So to open his eyes, let's go ahead and hold on the shift key and select the other two bottom lids. Copy our 11, go to 17, and let's go ahead and do a paste. And that's going to open up his eyes. Again, you might have to drag your timeline to activate the mesh. And let's check this out. Right now, if we press play, he does this really cute blink. All right, let's go ahead and go into our camera view, and let's go ahead and go to 0. Let's turn on let's unmute our sound and check it out.
Yeah, I like cheese. Yeah, I like cheese.
So at this point, you just have to keep building more and more. One of the things I would do is also move his ears. I think that would be really cool if his ears moved a little bit. So for that, you can just select both of them, select your rotation, make sure you're in object mode so you can move them at the same time. We already set a key on 0. So right here, maybe his ears could be coming, you know, maybe he's excited, right? So his ears need to feel like welcoming. He's kind of, he's sharing. So maybe the ears kind of open up. And then right here, maybe they can go back to normal, right? So again, I'm gonna copy them, go to like 18. Let's just space them back in. So now they kind of rotate back again. And at this point, we can keep them closed, but let's grab them on 12 and put them on 50. So maybe they open up again a little bit. And let's just see how that looks, because he's kind of changing his expression to kind of a final rest. And honestly, I'm just going to delete this 40 here. And I'm not liking any of it, so I'm just going to delete 18 and put this back to 50. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them open on 12, and then from 12 to 50, they're going to kind of gradually close. Let's see if that's better. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. All right, we haven't even touched his eyebrows, and you can see how this is going to get, this could get time consuming very quickly and very complex, right? So I'm just kind of building the complexity very slowly. So right here, he says, yeah, and maybe let's go ahead and set a key on 17 because we want his eyebrows to go back to where they were on 0. But on from 0 to 11, let's press S and let's move them up. So I'm going to press W and just I'm going to move these guys up. He's really expressive. He's like, yeah. I like cheese. All right. And I'm going to, let's go ahead and unmute our audio file. Go back into our camera view. And if you want to turn off the controllers for a second, just go to show. And of course, under viewport, you could just turn off NURBS controllers or NURBS curves, right? And let's go ahead and check it out. And you know what? Let me also turn off the wireframe.
Yeah, I like cheese.
And now, of course, you can do lights and shadows and adds all kind of stuff, right? To drop the light in, let's just drop something in. I'm going to say create lights. Let me drop in a directional light. And if I wanted to change how that looks, let's do something like that. Press Control D. Let's add a little rim light. All right, I'm going to jump back into my camera view.
Yeah, I like cheese.
So this would be my step-by-step process of kind of creating a lip sync scene. But again, if someone out there who is a lot more advanced in lip syncing and staging, shots for films or commercials, I would love to hear your feedback and give me, or all of us really, any pointers. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new, and I strongly encourage you to play with this and continuously get better and better. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one.
Yeah, I like cheese.